46. How do I interview technical candidates when I'm not a techie myself?
Interviewing technical candidates poses problems for human resources and general managers alike. Supervisors feel particularly challenged when they are responsible for interviewing and hiring technicians who possess a level of technical competence far greater than theirs. Still, no one can know all facets of all the people they hire. The world has simply become too niche-oriented as far as particular professions are concerned. For example, human resource recruiters in a hospital environment might be responsible for hiring IT, finance, and quality assurance candidates, in addition to nurses and postdoctoral research fellows. Few of us would be able to understand the intricacies of those professional positions, and there should be no guilt or shame in that. Still, interviewers have to evaluate those candidates and make no-hire recommendations, despite their lack of technical understanding. The question is, how do you evaluate someone when you really don't understand the nature of the detailed and complex work they do? The way around this dilemma is to state your knowledge limitations up front and then allow candidates to evaluate themselves according to their own criteria. That will spare you the embarrassment of appearing to know the technical nature of those business functions when you really don't. After all, it will only be a matter of time until technical candidates realize that you don't really speak their language. It will also provide you with enough information to make evaluative recommendations based on candidates' self-analysis of their qualifications, career progression potential, and history of achievements and shortcomings. Tell me more. Let's assume you're hiring a lab technician who is responsible for gene sequencing because that is an important role on your team. However, as a business manager, you don't consider yourself a bench scientist. Here's what your interview might sound like. Step 1. State your knowledge limitations up front. Laura, as a business manager in this unit, I focus more of my time on the behind-the-scenes administration of the lab. I've got my degree in microbiology, but, truth be known, I'm not that familiar with gene sequencing techniques. Therefore, don't mind if I sit respectfully and listen to your technical answers without appearing to be leading edge myself. I'd prefer if you answer my questions in layman's terms and teach me what you're doing by explaining it as if I've never had a day of biochemistry in my life. Would that be all right with you? Yes. Step 2. Allow candidates to evaluate themselves according to their own criteria. Candidates need first to address what they do in their current roles. Your questioning might begin this way. Let's look first at gene sequencing, an important part of the position you're applying for in our lab. Tell me about the gene sequencing you're doing at your current organization. What exactly do you do now? Candidates then need to address the challenges they perceive in transitioning from their current companies to your organization on the basis of differences in product lines, computer systems, research methodologies, and the like. You might follow up with a question like this. Your current lab focuses on the Human Genome Project. Our lab, as you know, does cancer genetics. What do you think you'd be doing differently from a gene sequencing standpoint in our lab as opposed to what you do now in your current lab? Next, ask candidates to assess their technical competency on a scale of 1 to 5. On a scale of 1 to 5, how do you rank yourself from a technical standpoint? In other words, if a 1 meant you're far off from what we were looking for, and a 5 meant you were exactly what we were looking for from a technical point of view, how would you rank yourself? Note that most candidates will rank themselves as a 3 or a 4, depending on their experience and level of comfort with the position they're interviewing for. Few will rank themselves a 5 for fear of being perceived as cocky or arrogant. When they rank themselves as a 3 or a 4, ask, why would you rank yourself a 4? After noting their response, Ask the logical follow-up query. What would you add to or subtract from your background to make you a 5? At that point, you'll have enough information to measure the gap between the ideal credentials and this candidate's particular background. Still, to help you focus further on the issue of technical match, ask another follow-up question. Where would we need to give you the most support, direction, and structure in your initial employment period to make sure that you excelled in this position from a technical point of view? What else should I know relative to how you see your qualifications for this position from a technical standpoint?